This is a true story, narrated by the owner of the YouTube channel Mr. How Ghost Story. This story is titled The Devil Mother. Continuing from the previous part 2 is titled Smell of a Corpse, inviting everyone to listen attentively. This is a story that took place 20 years ago, during a time when he began to follow a Chinese master to learn a unique earthly profession, grave digging. That year, he was about 27 years old, jobless and without a profession. It was during a time when his family sought a master to dig a grave for his grandfather. It's unclear how the master viewed his fate, but after the grave digging was completed for his family, during a meal, the master spoke to John's parents, John being the grave digger. "I have something I wish to discuss with both of you. I wonder if you'd like to hear what I have to say." John's parents immediately replied, "Master, please share your advice. Our family is all ears." The Chinese master looked at John from head to toe, gently stroked his beard, which had a few white hairs, and said, "I see some potential in your son's fate. He is very compatible with me in this work. Until now, I've mainly worked alone, and those who helped were only temporary. I am over 60 years old this year, and I've traveled far and wide without finding someone truly suited for this. Today, seeing him, there's something that intrigues me. May I ask what he is currently doing?" John's father answered, "To be frank, my son is nearly 30 years old now and still aimless, without a steady job. Our family is at our wits' end with him." The Chinese master gently stroked his beard and smiled. "So now, I propose this. Let him follow me and learn the profession. I have disciples, and I assure you that he will have a profession for life. This job is not for everyone. Some may not understand, but sometimes the profession chooses the person. From the moment I saw him, I knew he was destined for this." John's mother was a bit startled. But this job involves dealing with the dead. I'm afraid it's not good. I worry for him." The Chinese master waved his hand and responded, "Do not worry. In this world, any job is acceptable as long as it does not involve stealing, killing, or harming others. Let me tell you, if he follows me and learns the trade, I guarantee his future will be prosperous. You only see us dealing with the dead, but you don't realize that we are actually comforting the departed, ensuring their graves are peaceful and beautiful. And as I've said, it requires a certain destiny to do this job." John, who was inherently rebellious and bold, found the idea of a prosperous life quite appealing. Midway through his meal, John said to his parents, "If the master says I am destined, then let me follow him and learn the profession. I don't see anything frightening about it. If everyone were afraid, who would do it?" The Chinese master looked at John and laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha. I've said it. From the moment I met him, I knew he was suited for this profession. Especially when he watched me wash each bone with perfume meticulously, I knew then I wanted to take him as my disciple. I hope you both agree." For the first time in his life, seeing his son truly interested in a job, John's parents were overjoyed. With the explanations from the Chinese master, they felt even more reassured to let John follow the master to learn the grave digging trade. The family invited the master to stay for 3 days to offer hospitality and prepare the necessary items for John to start his journey. Indeed, there was a destiny. The master and disciple, though having met only a few days ago, talked as if they had known each other for years. After 3 days, John packed his belongings and bid farewell to his parents to follow the master and learn the profession. The master was right. John was clumsy with other tasks. But when it came to feng shui, choosing directions, timings, and grave digging, anything related to the deceased, John learned very quickly. After 5 years with the master, John could handle all the work himself, even the most challenging details. The Chinese master was not just a grave digger. He also knew geomancy, physiognomy, and sometimes John saw him performing spells for those who requested them for a significant fee. However, the master did not teach these to John. Whenever John expressed a desire to learn, the master would say, "Spells are not something good or for everyone. I told you before that you have a destiny in grave digging. As for the rest, I can't guarantee. Just learn well what I've taught you, and you will understand in time." John didn't dare to insist, though he wasn't scared of corpses or bones. Yet every time he secretly watched the master perform spells by cutting his own blood and mixing it with a dark liquid, then writing strange symbols on red paper with a brush. John felt chills. It wasn't the blood that scared him, but having worked with the master, John had developed a bit of courage. Every time he saw the master perform such rituals, John could vaguely sense something sinister, and after each spell, the master seemed to age visibly. And John understood the master's words were true. Spells were not benevolent. Abusing them would eventually harm the practitioner. John grew even more respectful of his master, and from then on, whenever he knew the master was casting a spell for someone, John would eagerly take on the work and look after the master with great care. The Chinese master knew this and often looked at John with a chuckle. Indeed, in my lifetime, I haven't misjudged people. At least when I'm close to death, I have a good disciple. Not in vain, not in vain. John poured tea for the master and gently reproached, "Master, don't talk like that. You are still healthy. What do you mean by close to death? And if casting spells is harmful as you say, why do you still do it? It's affecting your health too much." The Chinese master looked at John and softly said, "True, but everyone has a mission in life. You know I don't have any children, and in this grave-digging profession, I'm not lacking money or possessions, but I still have a debt to pay." Seeing the master's face momentarily sad, John didn't dare to ask more. John only knew that all the money the master earned was sent to the temple. Then he would go on to perform acts of charity. John also knew that although the master was of Chinese descent, he spent most of his time in Vietnam. But he had never heard the master mention a wife, children, or relatives back in China. He only knew the master traveled everywhere to dig graves for those in need. The master was nearly 70 years old now. Truly, it was destiny that since the day John followed the master, he only returned home a few times, mainly sending money back to his parents. Because the Chinese master was a person of good reputation in the grave digging work, many people sought him out. And while grave digging had its specific timing, the master also knew feng shui and physiognomy. So wherever he went, people would come to visit. Following the master, John learned grave digging skills that not everyone knew. Once the master and disciple arrived in a rather poor village where people still lived in houses made of straw and earth. Every household had its own garden, fish pond, chickens, and pigs. It was also close to the Lunar New Year, and the two were invited to dig a grave for a relatively wealthy family in the village. The job was straightforward because ever since John joined, the master and disciple worked very well together, completing everything perfectly and neatly. That's why wherever they went, after finishing their work, the homeowners would greatly appreciate them, often inviting them to stay for a few days and treating them very generously. From the day he followed his master, John realized that the life of a gravedigger was not as frightening as people thought. That night, while sleeping, John suddenly woke up to see the Chinese master opening the window to look out into the backyard. Even though it was 12 a.m., John called out, "Why aren't you sleeping?" The Chinese master put his finger to his lips. "Shh, don't make noise. This isn't good." The moonlight illuminating the master's face at that moment almost made John scream in fear. The emaciated face, the long, flowing white hair of the master, looked no different from a ghost or demon. Suddenly, the master closed the window, returned to his bed, and said to John, "We may have to stay here a bit longer. I never expected such a demon to appear in this land. From tomorrow, you must be very careful when you go out, although I don't sense it's malice towards humans. The appearance of a demon in this world is usually not a good sign." John didn't understand what the master was talking about. He just nodded at the master. The master continued, "Now go to sleep, and if you hear any noise outside, do not open the door or peek." John obeyed the master and tried to sleep again, but after hearing what the master said, he couldn't sleep. Overnight, John inadvertently heard rustling sounds at the garden wall near where they were sleeping. The rustling became clearer over time, like someone was climbing over the wall. Maybe it's a thief. It's a poor village, so not many houses have brick walls and fences. Thievery is understandable. Thinking that, John suddenly got up and moved towards the window to open it when he was suddenly pulled back strongly. Startled, John turned around to realize it was the Chinese master who still hadn't slept. The master pulled John back, his hand still tightly gripping John's shirt collar, silent, not uttering a word. The master's hand was as firm as stone, cold as ice, and his expression so stern that John felt a chill down his spine. After a while, the master finally let go of John and said, "I told you not to look. Why didn't you listen to me?" John stammered, "I was afraid the thief would come into our room." The Chinese master sighed, coughing hoarsely in a way that grated on the ears. Both master and disciple lay on the bed but couldn't sleep. John was worried, unsure of what was happening. The next morning, when the homeowner knocked on the door to call them for breakfast, John had just managed to doze off a bit. With the sky still dim with morning fog, the Chinese master opened the door, stepped into the backyard to wash his face, looked around at the straw houses nearby, then entered the house. After breakfast, the Chinese master sought out the homeowner, who was preparing a pot of tea. The homeowner invited the master to sit down. Settling himself, the master stroked his beard and asked the homeowner, pouring 2 cups of fragrant tea, emitting a gentle wisp of white steam. The homeowner respectfully handed a cup to the Chinese master with a smile. "Please enjoy the tea, master. This tea was brought directly from Vietnam by my son. Please have a taste." The Chinese master, seeing the homeowner's enthusiasm, momentarily paused his questioning. He gently lifted the teacup to his lips, closed his eyes, took a light breath, and then sipped the tea to savor it. Indeed, the tea was delicious, and the Chinese master said, "Thank you for hosting my disciple and me so thoughtfully. Not only is the food delicious, but even the morning tea is so fragrant." John, hearing the master's praise, also took a cup and drank it all at once, scalding his tongue, yet not finding it as delicious as the master described. John only felt a slight bitterness on the tip of his tongue, but he had to admit the aroma emanating from the cup was quite pleasant. Watching how John drank his tea, both the Chinese master and the homeowner chuckled. Only John didn't know what they were laughing about. The Chinese master then returned to the conversation. "The tea is fragrant, the food delicious, the scenery refreshing. However, there is a smell I find unsettling." The homeowner quickly asked, "Master, what smell is that? Just tell me, and I'll have someone clean it up immediately." The Chinese master looked at the homeowner and said, "The smell of decay, the smell of a long-dead corpse." The homeowner hurriedly called for his wife. "Where are you? Call Thee, the maid too. Hurry, let's check." Immediately, the wife and a girl around 16 years old rushed up, and in front of everyone, the homeowner questioned his wife. "What kind of cleaning have you two been doing, allowing the master to smell something rotten? Check under the tables, beds, cupboards, to see if the dogs or cats have hidden meat or bones somewhere. Or is there a dead rat somewhere? Quick, move." The homeowner's wife said, "How could there be a rotten smell? Every morning I ask Thai the maid to clean the house thoroughly. Besides, since the day the master arrived, we've even been lighting aromatic incense, making the atmosphere very pleasant and warm," the wife of the homeowner said. John thought to himself, puzzled about the source of the rotten smell, since he hadn't detected anything. Indeed, as the homeowner's wife mentioned, since they had started digging the grave for the homeowner, incense had been burned daily, creating a very comfortable and warm atmosphere. The Chinese master took another sip of tea and then addressed the homeowner. "You are mistaken. The smell I'm referring to is not that of meat or a dead rat. It's the smell of death chi, the smell of a human corpse." John was startled to hear the master say this, and not only John, but the homeowner and his wife were also visibly shocked. Meanwhile, the maid had been looking around under tables and inside cupboards for the source of the foul smell as per the homeowner's instructions. The homeowner stammered, "Master, you mean that there is?" His wife also softly asked, "Do you mean that there is a long-dead person in our house without us knowing?" The Chinese master stroked his beard and replied, "I only mentioned the smell of a corpse. Since waking up this morning, I have been from the front yard to this house. The death chi lingers around here but does not originate from inside this house. It could be said that you have brought a dead body home, or a corpse has entered your home in some way. Hence, the death chi still lingers." The homeowners, being extremely superstitious, had gone to great lengths and spared no expense to have the Chinese master come to their home to perform grave-digging rituals for a deceased family member. They had heard much about the masters, reputation, so when the master and his disciple arrived, both the husband and wife treated them with utmost respect. Watching the master conduct rituals and carefully wash each bone with such delicacy, precision, and order further increased the couple's admiration. Now, hearing the master mention the presence of Death Chi in their house, both were visibly shaken. The husband turned to his wife. "Have you attended any funerals, visited graveyards, or been anywhere where there was a deceased person recently?" The wife replied, "No, I haven't been to any funerals or burials this past month." "But you have," the Chinese master softly said. "This isn't about a wandering soul. It's about a corpse that still remains in the mortal realm." John, finding this very confusing, then asked his master, "How can a corpse remain in the mortal realm, master? I thought only the souls of the deceased, unable to detach from the mortal realm, turn into ghosts or demons that haunt people. How can a body stay here?" The homeowners, upon hearing John's question, also thought it made sense. The Chinese master signaled for John to close all the windows and doors. After doing so, he looked at John and explained, "Have you ever heard of zombie?" John answered, "Yes, the master mentioned it once. Is it a type of undead that has been enchanted to become a demon that harms people?" The Chinese master nodded. "Exactly. Essentially, a zombie is a type of reanimated corpse that moves only when there is no sunlight. They typically kill living creatures they encounter to absorb their life essence to sustain themselves." John then asked further, "So master means there could be a zombie here?" The Chinese master said, "I'm not sure, as the art of creating zombie has been lost for hundreds of years. Even in China now, finding a master who can create a zombie is as hard as plucking stars from the sky. However, there are two types of zombie. One type is enchanted by a master and follows the commands of those who cast spells on them. The second type is, as you said, souls that refuse to disperse, possibly because they died suddenly without realizing they are dead, or they still have unresolved grievances or fears. So they try to stay in the mortal realm. The first type, being controlled, might be corpses without consciousness, kept alive by sorcerers for their purposes through enchantment. The second type, resisting their destined death to maintain their corpse in the mortal realm, will need to absorb life from living beings. The challenge in identifying them is that they stay indoors during the day and only appear at night, making it difficult for people to notice the difference. Moreover, not everyone can see them. John nodded thoughtfully, but as the master mentioned, since the art of zombie is no longer practiced, only the second type remains. John had never heard of such entities before. The Chinese master then glanced at the homeowners and said, "In this place there are no, but they speak of the dead as demons. I've only heard of them, but have never encountered one. One thing I'm certain of is that your house has once been visited by a demon." The words of the Chinese master indeed have many echoes in the folklore, yet nobody has ever encountered them. Talking about zombies, John was somewhat unclear, but when the master mentioned demons, John suddenly remembered the ghost stories an old beggar used to tell him and his friends at the village banyan tree. Being someone with a good memory, John still remembered those stories vividly. He then curiously asked his master, "Master, is the demon related to a black cat?" The Chinese master's eyes widened in surprise at John's question and said, "Indeed, here, when people speak of demons, they often refer to a black cat. It is a female black cat that gets entangled with a cobra. It usually lives on the roof beams, with a longer tail and ears than normal cats. The most terrifying thing is that if a household has a deceased person and the black cat jumps over the coffin, the deceased will come back to life. It's rumored that the black cat can open the gates of the netherworld, so its jump can pull the soul of the dead back. But this is only a legend, after all, whether it's a black cat due to enchantment or residual grievances in the mortal realm. Those who have died but still try to stay in the mortal realm are going against their fate and won't end well. If they don't harm themselves, making it hard to transcend, they are harming their own families. A house with Death Chi will gradually decline, leading to misfortune." The homeowners hurriedly knelt down and clasped their hands in prayer. "Please, Master, kindly help our home. My wife and I have always lived well with everyone, always doing good deeds at the temple, never harming anyone. We beg for your help in saving us." The Chinese master quickly helped the couple to their feet and said, Rest assured, your family is only afflicted with the scent of death chi, and I will surely help you resolve it, since I've observed you both living virtuously over the past few days. You've generously given to the beggars and treated guests with utmost respect. Moreover, seeing how the community comes together to assist with your family matters, it's clear you are well regarded by your neighbors. Misfortune sometimes comes unexpectedly, and everything in existence has its purpose. The same goes for life and death. Where there's birth, there's death. Where there's disaster, there's a solution. Don't worry prematurely. I will help purify your home. However, this is only a temporary measure because if the demon returns after I leave and you are unaware, the situation will remain unchanged. Therefore, I have a few questions for you both. The homeowners, overjoyed, eagerly said, "Yes, yes, whatever you wish to ask, we will do our best to assist." The Chinese master instructed John to tell the maid she needn't search for the source of the smell anymore and to go prepare lunch in the kitchen. In the quiet atmosphere of the upper house, the Chinese master asked, "Firstly, I'd like to stay here for a while, and then I want to ask if there has been anyone in the village who was thought to be dead, but then came back to life recently." Part 2 has concluded. Please remember to subscribe to the channel to watch Part 3. Thank you very much. Goodbye and see you in the next video.